Good afternoon and welcome to today's Roadcast. A while ago I put out a video entitled "The World is a Fiction", and you may ask, well, that's an interesting title. What does this world, this what we call the universe, this simulacrum, this realm, this sphere of apparent existence, whatever we wish to call it, is first and foremost a divine construct. Within that divine construct, each and every one of us has the ability to imagine, to bring things into existence, to create things. And so just as the world was created by God, in that sense we are the co-creators of ourselves and everything around us. As a man thinketh, so he is. And with that in mind, we need to take a more playful and perhaps less concrete view of the world. If we regard it as malleable, by which I mean it's plastic, it can be moulded, our realities can be shaped, can be forged by ourselves through our imaginations and our God-given creative talents. Perhaps the greatest of which is our ability to reason. You couple your imagination with your ability to reason, and you solder that to the knowledge that you are living in a fiction, in an imagination, of a construct created by a God for his own joy, his own experience, his own amusement, whichever way you wish to look at it. When you come to that realization, then you don't be surprised if wonderful things begin to happen, if your step becomes lighter and things unfold in ways which you imagined but perhaps didn't expect. And gradually you will come to the understanding, the knowing that you are exactly what I stated. You are your own imaginative creation. Now, given that everything is in that sense fictional, we shouldn't be surprised that some of the most profound truths are expressed through the medium of fiction. It's one of the reasons I've always enjoyed reading. I put out a poem this week called "Dog on It." Dog being a mirror of the word God, of course. Not a coincidence. I'm sure you'll agree, especially those of you that have dogs. Anyway, that poem was written some 13 and a half years ago. And like a few things that I've been revisiting recently, I was quite struck by the fact that as I came to edit it, I was reposting it. As I came to edit it, I realised that there wasn't actually a great deal that needed changing. I added a few links to pieces, essays and podcasts that I have written since I published that poem, but there was nothing essentially in the poem that needed any correction or any rewriting. That poem was an expression of my intent, and it's pretty much one that I've stuck to. And I realised that looking back, I knew the things that I express now, I knew them back then. I've probably always known them. So it goes. So it goes. Let's just dwell, if we can, on this word fiction. One of the things that people don't seem to understand or do not have the historical knowledge of is that there are no real countries in this realm. That everything is beholden to the financial overlords. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, because these nation countries, as were, racked up these huge amounts of debt, and with that the accompanying usury, the interest on those loans that were granted to them down the centuries by the House of Rothschild and its various acolytes in order to fight wars and campaigns, and as was the case during the COVID era, to instigate a genocidal experimental medical procedure on the populations of the world. Then we got to the point where First of all, in 1871, the United States of America, and I mean the original United States of America, which can be simply distinguished from that which we have today by the correct usage of the capital letters. Today's United States of America is written in capital letters. It is not the same as the original Union. It's become corporatized. It is a corporate state. That's why it's in capital letters. The capital letters, remember, signify the capitalization of the named thing. So just as the individual becomes incorporated into the body of the state corporate at the age of 16, when his name, his given name, becomes capitalized. The same thing is going on at a corporate national level. So when the United States was declared bankrupt in 1871, that means there were receivers appointed. If a bankruptcy is declared, there are receivers who were brought in to sort out the assets, sort out the debts, and try and manage, or should I say, try and balance the books. And by 1931, 1933, all of this was pretty much, well, it was an inescapable fact. That was the year that they took over, they prevented persons from holding gold. The receivers, that is, the Federal Reserve. Now, if you imagine, well, you don't really need to imagine it, because this is how the United States Corporation is headed by its president. Its president currently is a certain Donald Trump. He's able to issue these executive orders, but these executive orders are for the employees of the corporation. They are not really anything to do with the illusory democracy that exists in the United States. That's long gone. And this is why people get frustrated, because they think, well, they're sending our boys over there, they're sending our soldiers, our military, to go and protect or to seize these assets, just as they did in Venezuela, Iraq, as they did in Libya, as they did in Afghanistan, all over the world pretty much, and as they're currently attempting to do in Iran. And if you know that what we're looking at here is a corporate takeover, these are corporate moves by a corporation known as the United States of America, and that Trump is like the CEO, then you'll see that it's got nothing to do with nationalism. It's got nothing to do with the nation known as the United States of America, because that doesn't exist anymore. That's gone. Everything is corporate. And the president of a board, the president of a corporation, is only answerable to the shareholders. And in the case of the United States of America, it's fair to say the majority of those shareholders are of a Jewish Zionist persuasion. And all the monies that are gathered in by the IRS, the Inland Revenue Service, are not for the government. They are for the payment of the interest on the fake loans that are being issued to the United States of America. It's the same, of course, over here, in the lands of England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. The taxes are being extorted from the people in order to pay the interest on the exorbitant fake loans issued by the Crown House of Rothschild and all its associated lickspittles, subsidiaries, should I say. So that's the name of the game. The game is that there are no countries anymore, that the entire world is operating in a state of bankruptcy. That's why we have no lawful money in order to pay the debts with. The debts cannot be paid by the passing around of IOUs. The only way to settle the debt is to balance the ledger, as I spoke about in a previous roadcast. In other words, to discharge the debt and zero the account, because it's all ledgering, it's all operating in a state of bankruptcy. And if you think about it this way, think of the entire world as being run by these corporate fake national governments, right? And that each country is a corporation. Those corporations are effectively owned by the World Bank, and in the case of the United States of America, the World Bank runs and operates through the International Monetary Fund, which also issues these fake loans to the various countries, the corporate countries. So in America and all over the world there is effectively a lien in place. A lien is a security that is essentially evidenced by the assets that are promised or pledged to the so-called creditor, although in reality neither the IMF nor the World Bank are in fact creditors. It's all a sleight of hand. They are simply magic money makers, I suppose you could call them. It's all fake. In any event, these monies, or shall I say these credits, are effectively ring-fenced and pulled in by the likes of HMRC over here and the IRS in America. But the IRS, remember, is not working for and on behalf of the American people. It's working for and on behalf of the IMF, and behind that you've got the World Bank. So it's all one great illusion, and yet so many people don't seem to understand this. So they talk about we. What are we doing in Iran? Why did we send our troops over to Iraq, over to Afghanistan? Why did we send our troops into Vietnam? Well, the simple answer to that question is you didn't. The troops are not a national force because they are representing the interests of the United States of America Corporation, and that is all they are. In that sense, they're a private army. Remember, this game has been going on for a long time. The East India Company was a similar private military organisation that was operating in India and other places for and on behalf of the House of Rothschild. If you believe that the East India Company saw the error of its ways and suddenly stopped campaigning in this way, then I've got a seafront property in Huddersfield that you might be interested in buying from. So it frustrates me when I hear people talking about our troops. What are we doing over here? How Trump has betrayed MAGA. Well, you could say he has, but it was always going to happen because he is not representative of the people. He's simply the CEO of the corporate entity known as the United States of America, all capitals. It's the same over here. The United Kingdom is a fictional entity. It's all capitalised. It's just basically this incorporation, this corporatism has run rampant for hundreds of years now. It's also its weakness. It is the Achilles heel of the system, because if you understand it and you see that the country is not a country but it is a corporate entity, then a corporate entity is operating under the rules of corporations, under corporate law, and that means there has to be a contract in place. Nothing in this realm, whichever level we're looking at, whether it's on a day-to-day level, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, nothing ever happens without your express consent, your compliance, your agreement to it. And with a corporation, that is the case. They are constantly looking for your agreement. And so everything is fake. Everything in that sense is a fiction. We need to stop talking about the military as being belonging to us, as being our boys, for instance. And we need to stop referencing the governments as being anything other than what they are. They're essentially a corporate board of private interests masquerading as representatives of the people. These individuals are handsomely rewarded for their ability to play out, to act out the roles, the phony roles of the puppets who are fronting up the governments, because it's just a screen, it's just a shadow play, and you never see, the individual will only a very tiny percentage of the population will actually see who is playing the puppets, who's pulling the strings of the puppets behind the screen. behind the scenes. And of course Plato's allegory of the cave is the simplest and most effective rendition of that reality, of that fictional realm. So everything is a product of the imagination, and this is why, you know, we have the mind benders, the filmmakers, the media controllers, the television presenters, the actors, the football and sporting heroes, all of whom are paid handsomely for their ability to distract and perpetuate the illusion of the shadow play and to mislead people into avenues of misbelief. I mean, you could call that disinformation. So the BBC, for instance, is not in the business of providing accurate information. It is in the business of controlling the minds of the viewers. Always has been, always will be. And so from that we can extrapolate outwards and ask the question, well, ultimately, who's in charge of all of this? Who is ruling behind the scenes? Who is pulling the strings of those working for the World Bank? And of course, we end up coming back to the usual suspects. I'm talking about the 4B2s, our Jewish brothers and sisters. And let's just make it clear for the record once more, I'm not an anti-Semite. Why? Because I've got nothing against those who speak Arabic or those who live in the Middle East. But I don't have any truck with the fake fiefdom that was created by the Rothschilds and the usual Zionist suspects known as Israel in 1948. Conceived in theft and deception, born in violence, and lo and behold continues to exist in a state, in those states. It's a rogue state, it's a criminal entity. But ultimately it's fictional, because everything, without exception, is fictional. And so we had a hilarious and ridiculous, mind-numbingly stupid moment last week when Pete Hegseth of the United States Corporation conducted a prayer meeting in the White House, whether knowingly or otherwise, turned out to be reciting some lines from the film Pulp Fiction, the scene in which the black character goes in and basically starts reciting all these lines, which are purportedly from the Bible but are not, shortly before he blows the heads off his victim. Peter Hegseth is there reciting these lines from the film as if they are genuinely from the Bible, which to me points out the ultimate fact that he is an absolute fuckwit.
The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of camaraderie and duty shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
Did he know what he was doing? I don't think so. I don't think the fellow has any degree of self-awareness whatsoever. But they don't give a fuck, because ultimately they are representing the interests of the corporation. They're not really bothered about what the hoi polloi will say. The troops for them are just cannon fodder. All the military is just cannon fodder for them, for their consumption, and to be used to gain whatever they want, whether it be the mineral rights to the minerals in a country, the gold, the jewels, or, as is invariably the case, the oil. That's the name of the game. It's just another oil grab. Whether it's in Venezuela or Iran, ultimately they're after the oil. And that's another thing that is very frustrating for those who have got any modicum of intelligence, because we don't need to be relying upon oil in order to provide the fuel. Energies out there exist, cold fusion energies to name but one. But ultimately, energy is all around us, it's in the ether. We are electrical beings. The entirety of this simulacrum, this realm, is electrical. How do you think your body works? You're producing electricity. It powers down at night when you're asleep. But, you know, during the day you put the fuel in there and the electricity gets generated. So it really is a crazy world. And it's so fucking crazy that, you know, at times you've got to say, well, it's so beyond reason. Is it actually real? And it's a mistake for people to take it as real. If you begin to understand it as a fiction, if you begin to see it as a play, as indeed a stage show, then you'll be more at ease with it, and you'll be able to see that you are simply just passing through. You're in this world, but you're not of it, because it's a fictional world. It's not really as we are led to believe it is. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to leave it there for today. It is a beautiful spring day. There is nary a cloud in the sky. It's the 22nd of April 2026, and this roadcast has come to you from the lovely woodlands around Mapley Reservoir near between Ilkeston and Heanor in Derbyshire. So, thank you very much for your attention. If you haven't done so already, please go on my website, roguemail.org. You'll get a pop-up there to sign up for the newsletter. Please sign up for that, and then you will get notifications of my recent posts and anything else that I'm putting out. I can also be found on Substack at MOD800. I am on Twitter, I am on Facebook, and I also have a YouTube and a Rumble channel. So if you're on any of those platforms and you'd like to show your appreciation, please drop me a line, but certainly give me a thumbs up and a share, because it does help. And I have noticed recently we've gone up by about 20 subscribers on the YouTube page, so maybe we'll reach 300 by the end of the month. But to be perfectly frank, any individual that criticises the financial system and the 4x2s is not going to get anywhere near the level of coverage that he or she may deserve. And so is the case in this instance. If you'd like to help out with the cost of running the site, etc, etc, please chuck a few quid into the Rogue Mail coffee pot via the Buy Me a Coffee button. Until the next time, my friends, I will leave you wherever and whosoever you might be, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers!